Harvard University could lose its tax-exempt status, U.S. President Donald Trump has warned. Taking to Truth Social, Trump said Harvard keeps pushing political, ideological, and terrorist-inspired sickness for which it should be taxed as a political entity. This comes after the Trump administration announced freezing $2 billion in federal funds for the elite college. The Education Department also announced freezing $60 million in contracts to Harvard. Harvard had rejected a list of demands from the White House only a few hours before. The White House sent a list of changes to hiring, admissions, and teaching to fight anti-Semitism on campus. Harvard became the first major U.S. university to reject Trump administration's demands, accusing the White House of trying to control its community. The White House said the university had failed to live up to the intellectual and civil rights conditions that justify federal investment. Its list of 10 changes include reporting students to the federal government who are hostile to American values. The Trump administration has deported students from Columbia and Georgetown in a similar crackdown.
Last point I want to make, Mr. President, again, it's under your leadership, it's actually under your executive order. If you come to this country as a student, we expect you to go to class and study and get a degree. If you come here to vandalize a library, take over a campus, and do all kinds of crazy things, we're going to get rid of these people. And we're going to continue to do it. So when we identify lunatics like these, we take away their student visa. No one's entitled to a student visa. The press covers student visas like there's some sort of birthright. No, a student visa is like me inviting you into my home. If you come into my home and put all kinds of crap on my couch, I'm going to kick you out of my house. And so, that's what we're doing with our country, thanks to the president.
Columbia University has accepted a number of demands after the White House pulled $400 million in federal funding. In March, the Trump administration said it was reviewing roughly $256 million in federal contracts and grants at Harvard, and an additional $8.7 billion in multi-year grant commitments. Harvard has a $53 billion endowment. Harvard professors filed a lawsuit in response, alleging the government was unlawfully attacking freedom of speech and academic freedom. President Trump has accused universities of failing to protect Jewish students in the face of protests against Israel for waging war in Gaza. Columbia University's Mahmoud Khalil, Tufts University's Rumeysa Ozturk, and Georgetown University's Badar Khan Suri have been detained in recent weeks over their pro-Hamas stance.
It was the epitome of the lack of due process in a court proceeding in this country. It was shocking. The immigration judge had made up her mind before the hearing even started what she was going to do. She basically cut off questioning throughout the proceeding. She cut off argument. What this document says is that there is a compelling government interest in not letting Mr. Mahmoud express his beliefs, statements, or associations in the United States because of a compelling foreign policy interest. We wanted to examine Marco Rubio and say, what are you talking about? This guy has never been convicted of a crime, never been charged with a crime, very peaceful person. His ideas are that threatening to the United States? And that's the position of the United States government, that Mahmoud Khalil's ideas are so horrible. His ideas that there should be a Palestinian state, his ideas that the United States is contributing to genocide in Gaza by the Israeli government.
Like Mark was saying, today was historic in its unfairness. The judge went out of her way to make very clear to us and anyone in the courtroom that the constitutional arguments we were making had no place in immigration court. There was not an ounce of desire in her being to give Mahmoud a fair hearing today. And that's precisely what we were fearful of. The immigration case is far from over. We move on now into what's called the relief stage, where Mahmoud can present certain applications to defend against removal. And we're set to file additional evidence and applications by April 23rd. We foresee that this case will require at least a few more hearings in immigration court before, a final decision is made, at which point there could be appeals. At the same time, my colleagues will talk about this more briefly, we also have pending proceedings in district court, which is the proper forum per the government and per this judge to make the constitutional arguments that despite whatever authority Secretary Rubio asserts, you cannot deport someone from the country for engaging in constitutionally protected free speech.
If Marco Rubio says he should be deported, end of the inquiry. So that's the position. We'll be arguing in district court that can't happen. It's violative of the First Amendment, and we'll argue it wherever we can. But that's their legal position that they are taking in this case. We can go to the Board of Immigration Appeals, but not till there's what's called a final order. So we're still have this, I'd say, secondary or tertiary matters to deal with in the immigration court. But my guess is she'll be making a decision, within a few weeks or so on the other matters, which really won't control the case. And then we would go to the Board of Immigration Appeals. But the Board of Immigration Appeals has precedent, which is what the judge relied on, and the government was arguing, basically similarly saying you can't look behind the 2-page letter or any memorandum that the Secretary of State puts out about this. So our real remedy is in district court, in federal district court. That's the only place we're going to get any real justice, or that he is going to get any real justice.
As he said in court today, there's no mistake. There was no accident in him being sent to Louisiana. It is a place far removed from most of society, where it's difficult to get news from. It's difficult to find an attorney. And, just like his arrest was meant to silence him and intimidate him to be quiet, sticking him in the middle of the South with very little access to people, technology, etc., is just a further attempt to chill him.